What is up, everyone? Before we dive into this absolutely wild legal story, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe right now. Trust me, you are not going to want to miss where this is going.
Okay, let's get right into it. A plan to use a law from, get this, 1798 for modern-day deportations just got completely shut down by a federal court. This is huge. So, President Trump's big immigration play, the one that hinged on this super old, dusty law, yeah, it just hit a massive legal brick wall. This is a huge setback, a really big deal for the administration's plan. Yep, you heard that right. A federal appeals court looked at this plan to use an 18th century wartime law and basically just said, nope, not gonna happen. So how on earth did we even get here? And what is this law that's causing all this drama? Let's break it all down. Seriously, this thing is a relic. The law at the very center of this whole fight is something most of us have probably never, ever heard of. It's called the Alien Enemies Act. And when I say it goes way back, I mean way back. We're talking 1798. John Adams was president. That's, 227 years ago? Just insane. So this law is super, super specific. It gives the president some pretty wild powers. But, and this is the key part, only under two very specific conditions. Either the U.S. has officially declared war on a country, or that country has launched what the law calls an invasion. Just to put this in perspective for you, this thing is basically a legal dinosaur. Before this year, its last major use was during World War II. It's been collecting dust on a shelf for decades. Okay, so here's the play-by-play. Back in March, Trump pulls out this old law and invokes it. Right after that, about 250 Venezuelans get sent to a mega prison in El Salvador. And that brings us right up to now, where the Fifth Circuit Court just slammed the brakes on the whole thing. So this whole thing, this entire legal battle, it really boils down to one single word: invasion. Okay, so on one side, you've got the Trump administration's claim. They're saying that a Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, is basically an invasion directed by Maduro, using things like drug trafficking as a weapon. But then the court claps back. They're saying, look, even if that's happening, it's just not what the 1798 law meant by an armed military-style invasion. So with these two totally different arguments on the table, what did the judges decide? Let's look at the final ruling. It all came down to this one crucial line from Judge Leslie Southwick. He wrote, and I'm quoting here, "A country's encouraging its residents and citizens to enter this country illegally is not the modern-day equivalent of sending an armed, organized force." Basically, the court said that what's happening today just doesn't fit that very old-school definition of invasion from 1798. And get this, it wasn't a clean sweep. The decision was 2-1. The two judges who voted to block the order, one was a Bush appointee, the other a Biden appointee. And the one judge who disagreed, a Trump appointee. Kind of interesting, right? Okay, so this is a huge roadblock for sure. But is it the end of the story? Not necessarily. So, what happens now? Well, there are basically two paths forward for the administration. First, they could ask the entire Fifth Circuit Court to take another look. Or they could decide to go big and take this thing all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, this next part is really, really important to get straight. This ruling only blocks the use of that one 1798 law. That's it. It does not, I repeat, does not stop deportations using all the other regular immigration laws that are already on the books. And that brings us to the million-dollar question. You know, the Supreme Court has kind of danced around this law before, but they've never actually had to rule on whether a president can even use it this way. This could be the one that finally forces them to give a definitive answer. So now I want to know what you think. Does this case go all the way to the Supreme Court, or is this where it stops? Let me know your predictions down in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. All right, that is the breakdown for today. If you want to stay on top of complex stories just like this one, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss out. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you on the next one.